Hello, everybody. Good day. Welcome to the show. Mike is here. Garrett is here. Hello, Garrett.
Howdy.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great today.
Good. Good. Good day at work, I take it?
Yeah, it's one of those days that wasn't nothing went too wrong. That's a good
Good.
sign.
Yeah. I can appreciate that. J. Chris Newberg will join us in a little bit. He was running around and I didn't think it was too hardcore politics heavy. That's when I'm like, Chris, why don't you take in the end this one? Um, it's just not really his wheelhouse. I don't expect it to be. And so that's kind of why I do that. I'm sure he takes offense at that, but so be it. But I was like, yeah, if you want to pop in today and do the show with Garrett and I, come on in. And so he's looking forward to that. So we'll bring Chris in. When he gets here, maybe you can pop him in.
Yep,
You can do that on your end, right, Garrett?
Yes, I can.
All right. Why does your mic sound lower?
I don't know. Let me try and turn some stuff up. How are we doing now?
Huh?
Any better?
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe a little
cool.
too loud. Somewhere in there. See if
All
you
right.
can find a balance between you and
A
I.
little middle ground.
Yeah. It sucks. We're in an election year, which makes stories that are political in nature, political footballs, if you will, really big. And unfortunately, we had another school shooting today down in Georgia. At some high school, Appalachia High School in Winder, Georgia. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but they were put on lockdown following an active shooter. This one is alive, so hopefully they don't identify as trans or something, and they bury all relevant details about this individual.
I know.
Like
I was just talking to
yeah.
Marina last night about school shooters and trans shit, like how they keep correlating the two now.
Yeah, it's not good. The one
No,
what was the last one where there's a bunch of
it
lawsuits?
was Nashville or a bunch of
Nashville.
lost. Yeah,
Yeah. The more that's come out on that individual sounds like just an absolute delusional.
the manifesto just came out. It's complete delusional.
Yeah. Like 22 years long of fucking mental health care and medications. But they're going to, there's an underlying danger in some of this stuff. Like 15 years ago, you would have just said, oh, this person thinks that you wouldn't cater to that behavior necessarily. It would be doctors would have a responsibility. So they're going to start looking at some of these doctors like, how did you treat this person that clearly was mentally unstable? Did you just play along and act like, oh, yeah, whatever wacky thing you think? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but they have not wanted us to be able to see details from that manifesto, which is weird because that's always what people want to know what the Unabomber's thinking. They want to know law enforcement is able to get a lot out of this stuff. And, here we have another it sounds like a 14-year-old boy shooting up his high school. At least 4 people killed. That number usually when it's day of and you start talking about it, that number goes up, goes down. So don't hold up,
with 9 injured. It's iffy. You
Yeah,
never know where that's going to go.
exactly. And I don't know, has anyone said what kind of weapon was used?
Nothing I can see yet. I just know one side's already blaming guns.
Yeah. Oh, well, of
Which
course. Yeah.
totally the issue, not the mental health issues that we have
Right.
in this country or the rampant crisis of people on SSRIs.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy how that works. Silly people that don't want to have real discussions will just go guns.
Yeah, well, how could the gun ever do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Inanimate objects don't do that. But
No.
the Barrow County Sheriff's Office said one person has been taken into custody but has not released any additional details. CNN reports the shooter is believed to be a 14-year-old male. All I had was a timeline. This will evolve as it goes. Officers with long weapons entered the school at 8:57. Heavily armed police seen entering the school as students were evacuated to the football field. It's heartbreaking when you see it. Kids doing a big prayer circle together. At least one person was evacuated on a medical helicopter. Multiple agencies, including the FBI, responded. Hundreds of students evacuating. President Biden's been briefed on the situation. Thank God.
Oh, yeah.
I was wondering if President Biden was going to be briefed. That's very, very important. It sucks to have to interrupt his latest vacation wherever he may be. sitting on a beach somewhere. But, I mean, he is obviously the leader of the free world in complete command. And so getting his perspective on these things, maybe we'll get his boots on the ground to comfort the community. That'll go over well. The sheriff's office calls the shooting an evil thing. Yeah, I would agree.
No shit.
Yeah, Judd
I'm
Smith.
glad they got their detectives on that.
Yeah, they're all over it. What you see behind us is an evil thing. I called the situation very fluid and ongoing. This is where this really hits home when you see text messages between a student and mom. There's no doubt the emotions behind that. All of us can remember being young and relying on mom and dad. Anytime a really, really difficult situation in your life came up, none would be more difficult than something like this. You can understand that. Like, that's where you turn to in crisis times, especially when you're a young person.
Yeah.
Aaron Clark got a text message from her son, Ethan, at 10:23 a.m. telling her there was a school shooting right now. I'm scared. I'm not joking. His mom responded instantly. I'm leaving work, and I think that's a human response. I don't know what you're going to do in that moment, but
probably a little more bad than good getting in the way there.
Yeah, probably. I didn't want to say it, but I think we all know that.
We understand why.
Yeah.
Everybody's on your side on why you would do bad, but it's unintentional. You're going to do some bad out there. Just let them do it.
And it's why they set up like areas for families way over here, because it's
unless it's Uvalde. After 10 minutes in Uvalde, I think you got carte blanche to storm past the cops. That's fucked up.
I couldn't agree more. In Uvalde's a different situation, and those fucking heroes that came rolling up there with their guns, I don't blame them at all, for sure. And then the kid writes, "I love you," back to his mom. Attorney General Merrick Garland jumped in. I'm devastated for the families who have been affected by this terrible tragedy. The Justice Department stands ready to provide resources or support the Winder community needs in the days ahead. Let's see. There was a coach and special ed teacher that's been the first one identified. As far as the stories that I read this morning, obviously, by the time people hear this, there could be a lot more information. I apologize for that.
Yeah, I just got an update at 4:45. They've already identified him.
All of them?
Just the shooter.
Oh, the shooter. Who is it?
His name is Colt Gray. He's a student at the school.
Yeah, 14 years old. What does that make you, a freshman?
Yeah.
Probably, right? 14, get your driver's license at 16, as going into your junior year usually. So Katie Fenix shared on Facebook that her dad, David, a special ed teacher and coach at Appalachia High School, is one of the victims. So thankful for the text calls, messages about my dad. There was a shooting. My dad was shot in the foot and in the hip, shattering his hip bone. We arrived at the hospital. He was alert and awake. He just got out of the surgery. We'll update as we hear new info. We're so lucky. Please keep our family and the school in your prayers. I keep coming back because I know I've seen too many of these stories to not know exactly how this is going to play out. They will blame the guns. And until, that's just not going to fix the problem. It's just not. And I always come back to, and nobody's been able to answer this question for me, is why are you not seeing this happen at inner city schools? Why does it always seem, and I don't know what the makeup of this school is, but when you talk about the one in Florida or Colorado, these are middle class to upper middle class communities that this is happening to. What is wrong with the mental health of these almost exclusively white kids with what appears to be more privilege than most?
Yeah, and actually something that is also troubling to me right now, just because I'm kind of reading the article as we go, but the high school had received an earlier phone threat. Multiple law enforcement told CNN. The phone calls were on Wednesday morning. They warned there would be shootings at 5 schools, and Appalachia would be the first. It's not known who placed the call. Officials tell CNN they are investigating whether the call and where it was organized. So they were given a heads up on this too, which is weird for me. I don't like that, because if this is a gun thing and a presidential election thing, this is where my tinfoil hat comes in, and I get fucking canceled like Alan Jones. But
it's hard not to go there because they're not doing a very good job of informing people. This just seems, when you have places that people that want to do bad, they're not necessarily stupid. They're deranged, or they're, whatever's going on, whether it's the SSIDs, as you mentioned,
SSRIs, yeah.
SSR. I'm sorry.
You're good.
I'm on an NSAID medication right now, and I know the difference sort of, but the medications that so many of these kids, like, dude, I hear it. It's like, oh, my kid's got anxiety. It's like,
Yeah.
your kid's kind of fucking a normal kid. Like, yeah, no kid wants to try new things usually. That's very common, that a kid, I don't want to go to that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. You need to step up and make them do it. And they usually end up having a great time. It doesn't mean they're always going to have a great time, but
Yeah.
you want them, experiencing stuff. You don't want to give them excuses to take a knee on everything and not try anything for fear of whatever fears kids have, feelings of, I'm not going to be liked, or I'm not going to be good, or, I'd rather play video games. Like, so you see a lot of those excuses with people, like, oh, my kid is different because blah, blah, blah. It's like, nah, kid's not, he's a kid. He's a kid, so I don't know why this happens, and when I'm talking about them not being stupid, necessarily, a lot of these people do planning. A lot of, we're starting to hear more and more about Thomas Crooks and planning that was done and research that was done. They know these are soft targets.
Yeah.
And schools love to put up there drug-free zone or, gun-free zone. It's like, okay, just putting a sticker on the wall doesn't mean there's not rampant drug use going on in your school.
Yeah.
Or, just because, like, there's at no point in the history of the world has anyone with a gun wanted to do something evil at a school and gone, God damn it.
That fucking sign.
Fuck. It is a gun-free zone.
Not even gun related. I bought most of my drugs back in the day at my high school.
Sure. Yeah,
that's
lots
just
of people
where
did.
Students exchange them.
Yeah, it's where they're hanging out. And so when you can talk to that stuff, like, so if people know, like, I can go to that school and I'm gonna be met with jack shit as far as pushback. No one there's got a gun. They brag about it, and it just seems so simple of a fix. It's almost like people don't want to fix it. It's like there's absolutely, and we've talked about it 1,000 times. You could put retired military guys, put them on it's a small salary, retired police officers looking for a hobby that could go give back to their communities, know how to handle a gun, keep up on the gun range, and are just there. They don't even need to dress like a cop. They don't need to be showing weapons. But if someone tries to come through your school, I would think all parents would want something like that. I know as an uncle, I absolutely would feel more comfortable. Like, don't give me this, you locked the doors. Okay, well, I'm not, at no point am I worried about some deranged former police officer or former military guy going ham on the student body. That I'm not worried about.
Military guy. Depends on what they trigger in them.
I knew
you might get a couple. Like, you might get a couple asshole kids to run up behind them and slam lockers real fast. Yeah,
probably knowing kids, but for the most part, I'm not worried about you. And you could do that in every public school in America. You could do that in every school and go, hey, you know what? This is the reality we live in. This was not necessary in the 1980s. They made changes like that at inner city schools with gang violence and put metal detectors in, and people, went, oh, Jesus, what's going on with these inner city schools? And it's like, well, they at least put measures in place to try to help the situation. We see this every fucking school year. And the debate immediately goes to these evil people over here on the right that want everybody to be able to have guns versus good people who want to protect students. Like, yeah, I wish it was that simple too, but if you're being honest, that's bullshit. I'm not comfortable with guns. I'm not, but I'm very comfortable with people that absolutely know what they're doing with guns being around me as some sort of security. We have security in all aspects of our lives. Children are the most precious gift we all have, right? Isn't that what we're told over and over? Like, you would think if banks can be protected by security, you certainly would want your kids being protected by that same type of thing. And then I think it's time to look really seriously at what's going on with overprescribing children, and why, what is leading to this need in these particular schools, not all schools, in these particular situations where these community members are seeking recognition this way. I don't want to just blame video games. We were all playing shoot 'em up video games too.
No, it's not video games.
I mean, there's some desensitizing going on with them on some level. I don't know what it is. My guess is people just don't want to have real conversations and they want to blame guns for it. But, unfortunately, we don't have a government that can be trusted. That's just the way I feel. I'm more in favor of Second Amendment protections than I ever have been, knowing how reckless this government has been, this media has been. And it's like, these people smarter people than me put this in place for a reason. And, I don't know, man.
It's just ridiculous too, because if their solution is banning guns, the UK's already proven that's not a solution. It just turns into knife crime.
Yeah.
Because they're now hitting murder rates that is as high as New York City without guns.
Mm-hmm. And you just know that you can have the war on drugs. How did that work out for you?
I'm high right now, so
not
very good.
The war on drugs was for those that don't know, started in the 80s. Say no. The whole war on drugs has been an utter fucking failure on every level. No matter how much money you've wasted on it, no matter how many programs shitty things you've put together, it hasn't worked. The war on poverty. Yeah, you've spent trillions. You've spent trillions with a T on the war on poverty. How's that going for you?
Yeah.
Utter failure. And, when you get bureaucrats involved and lobbyists involved and, the age old saying, the cause becomes the fucking business, becomes the racket. And now you've got board members dealing with homelessness, taking home hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in salaries and making the problem tenfold worse. So excuse me if I don't just go, oh yeah, we should put shit tons of money into this and let you people recklessly make the problem worse. Because that's what it seems like you guys do. That's what it seems they do. So, excuse me if I don't just go, that mandatory buyback programs. I don't think that'll work the way you think it will. You have to be living in a fucking fantasy land to think that criminals aren't going to find a way to get their fix. They're going to get their guns. They're going to get their drugs. They're going to get whatever they want. And no amount of government regulation is going to stop that.
I'll tell you right now, with the way the government wrote all the gun laws, there's a very, very common joke in the gun community. A lot of people right here are about to perk up. But when people ask how many guns you have, you just say the ones I didn't lose in a boating accident. Because according to the ATF's rules, if you lose your gun in a boating accident, for them to count that as your gun, they would have to go and scuba dive down there and retrieve it and prove it's yours. So people just say, yeah, I lost all my guns in a boating accident. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, that's not bad. And then what do they hammer you if they find them on your...
Yeah, if they find them on your person, you get hit a little harder, but...
Yeah. No, dude, it's almost worth the social experiment to see what would happen if someone got in power and really legitimately tried to do a mandatory gun buyback program. Like, that would almost be hilarious. Oh, yeah. No, I mean specifically in this country.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about what the UK, however they decide to do their shit. How's it working out in Germany? How's it working out all throughout Europe?
No, they want any chance they get, whether it's a mass tragedy or something positive, they want to take the guns because they know the guns are the one thing stopping them from taking the rest of the amendments with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one reason our country has been able to hold up its amendments this long. We used to duel each other over problems. Like, that was just something in our law. Like, you could just shoot the guy in a legal duel.
I challenge you. Yep. Yeah, we think, for some reason think we've grown past, like we're somehow better or more evolved than previous generations or how they handle things. And on some level we are, but I have less than zero. Like I can't have less faith. And polling shows the American public as large has never been less trustful of the government
Yeah.
and of the media, and those two in lockstep. Like they've never been less trusting of them. And that should scare all of us. But it goes back to another thing that these young founders of the country foresaw and were really smart in how they put it together, knowing what they were coming from and trying to establish a nation of the people, by the people, and for the people, you know? And like to just be like, oh, yeah, they meant muskets. No, they didn't.
No,
That's
it was
not what they
written
meant.
specifically at or equal to the military, which they've already infringed on with Reagan.
Yeah, you could get a cannon back then.
Yeah,
Technically.
you could own a naval ship. In fact, a lot of our Navy
Yeah.
was made up of privately owned ships.
Yeah. I think the problem goes way deeper than the gun. That seems like a base level thing, and you know, I'm not one of those gun nut guys. I own a gun. You know, I've shot it once, maybe twice, like in my life. Like I'm not walking around with a gun or anything like that. But the First Amendment, I am like under
Yeah.
no circumstance ever. There's no room to give a fucking inch. And I understand why gun people feel that way.
Yeah.
I do. I
I've-
know what their fear is the same as my fear with the First Amendment. That's their fear. That no, there is no reasonable, rational conversation. I know what you're trying to do, and absolutely not. You know, you will pry this out of my cold, dead hands.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, be prepared for the conversation to go the way it's going to go. 100%. You're going to see all the usual fucking smarmy, slimy sacks of shit all over your TV talking about caring about the children and blah, blah, blah.
That's just how they pull at your heartstrings to
Right.
totally avoid the issue that it's mental
Yep.
health.
Yeah.
We've
100%.
had guns as a nation forever. We've had more school shootings since the introduction of SSRI medication in children.
Yeah. But that's a tough conversation.
Yep.
That's a real tough conversation to have. And, you know, will we ever get there, or do we keep going down this road where it's like, no, we're taking guns? It's like, okay, well, you know, I don't know who would abide by that anyways, but
No,
I just know, you know, by the end of the day, Garrett, your media landscape is going to 100% be coverage of this idea of guns and, oh my God, our children. I would say that I care about your children more than apparently you all do, because
yeah.
I think it's further discussion, because if it was just guns, it would be happening all over. But it seems like a very targeted group. It seems like an over medicated group
Yeah.
of entitled, spoiled kids that are you know, seeing this as their way to get, you know, fame or whatever. I don't know.
And the thing I never understand after all these arguments is they want to ban it, make it a no gun zone in the schools and stuff like that. Can't you still just put a guy in there, a good guy with a gun?
Yeah.
A well-trained
You know what?
teacher or something? Because it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, we don't care if you want to make it a no gun zone. Can we have one gun in there with a trusted person though?
Yeah. Yeah. You would
We can have
think
both.
but it almost, it goes counter to the narrative. It makes it harder to push the, oh my God, we need to ban these assault weapons of war.
Yeah.
If you have to admit that we've made schools safer by at every entrance and exit putting, you know, stationing, you know, retired military guys or former police officers who are looking after their communities. It doesn't help the argument if you can make those situations safer, you know. And for some people, the ideology is more important than the result, unfortunately.
And that's what I think it is a lot of the time, is the ideology of getting rid of all of them helps them in the long run, whereas just actually addressing the problem doesn't help them at all in the long run.
Yeah. And I don't believe they're honest, you know, people to begin with. That's my problem. I don't think they come from a good place. I think they're self-serving monsters, most of them.
Yeah.
It's just how I feel.
And I was
What's
gonna
that?
say last thing. I also just the last part about this, and this is just the most ridiculous point, is I follow a channel on YouTube I recommend to people all the time called Print Shoot Repeat. This guy just 3D prints fully automatic assault weapons in his basement and fires
Really?
them off. Fully auto, fully functioning.
Really?
Just prints them.
Are there laws against that, by the way? Because fully auto is illegal.
It's not illegal if you have the right licensing, which he does have. So he's doing this fully licensed, by the way. But it's one of
Yeah.
those channels where he does it purposely to prove a point that doesn't matter what you do to get rid of them, people will find a way. Like he just makes Glock switches
100%
sometimes
they
for
will.
fun.
Yep. 100%.
Well, let's
And
get
it's
some
only going to
levity
get
in here.
worse. It's only going to get worse too, because 3D printing is going to become absolutely commonplace. I mean, they're 3D printing homes now.
Yep.
Hey,
Let's get some levity in here
there
for a
he
second.
is. Chris Newberg's here.
Yeah, January 6th. Let's go.
Right on time.
Christ. Oh, he's already irritating me.
What are you
Perfect.
talking? You love me. What are you guys talking about?
We are talking about the school shooting in Georgia.
I read a kid. One of the headlines on CNN. It was kid texts mom, "I love you" as
Yeah.
gunshots rung
We read
out.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we read it.
There was like a bunch of other texts.
No. He said, "Hey, there's a school shooting at my school right now." Not kidding. And she wrote back something like, "I'm on my way, leaving work." And whether that's helpful or not, we can understand the human side of why you would say that. And then he wrote, "I love you" back. Stories like that, and the kids being evacuated onto the football field and doing a prayer circle in the end zone are going to reverberate. Those looks are really bad. Unfortunately, Garrett and I have been discussing a lot. We've seen enough, we've covered enough of these to know how this plays out, how this goes.
Right.
And it's going to immediately become a political issue about guns instead of something larger that, the over medication of children, the entitled behavior, because I keep coming back to, and nobody can answer this question for me. The school shootings that we see going on ever since Columbine happen at one type of school. And they happen in middle to upper middle class white areas of America. These school shootings are not happening at inner city schools. Why is that? Why is the behavior different? What is going on with these children that's not going on in other places that you don't have an epidemic of this every year, multiple times a year going on in these places? Is it possible that it's more than just guns?
Of course, it's a bunch of different things. Is it terrible that the first thing I wanted to respond is always something comedic, which is horrible in this situation. But my first thing is because bullets are expensive in downtown. They don't want to waste bullets on a regular day shooting. That's the horrible thought I first had.
It's true. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, if someone gets it in their mind that they're going to go out and I'm going to be famous, it seems like there's a lot of people that really want to be famous. Right. They're not going to sweat the $100 in bullets to go make their name for themselves.
Well, it's a constant commercial to do a school shooting these days. In the same sort of way, in my generation, my Gen X, 80s movies, 90s movies, the most popular thing was teenage suicide. And it was like they constantly did movies about it. They constantly talk about it. So what did kids constantly do? They constantly killed themselves. And now
Marilyn Manson.
And now kids are like, well, wait, we're going to wait. It's the most popular thing to do. It's the most popular thing to do to shoot it instead of kill yourself.
Is it popular or is it gets you a lot of coverage? Because I don't think there's
coverage.
Because there wasn't like a lot of video games that featured suicide as a prominent storyline, or school shootings, I don't think anyways, are a video game thing. Like, oh yeah, you can be a kid and go shoot up your school. Like, that's not a thing.
Do you play shooting games, or did you play shooting games when you were a kid?
Yeah, I was aware of them. I played some of them, certainly not like some kids. I did a
lot.
I was in the first generation of games, the Pac-Man and Frogger and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I definitely, in my late teens, early 20s is probably when the Call of Duty stuff started coming out. And I'm trying to think, I know there were some. I did a lot of sports ones growing up, right. SSX, Tricky, the snowboarding one was awesome when I was younger. Did you do a lot of video games, Chris? You don't strike me as much of a video game guy.
Yeah, I was a video sports guy. Like I liked Madden and
Yeah, me too.
all that stuff. But when I played shooting games, I didn't want to shoot up school.
No,
and like,
me either.
And I didn't want to go out and cause violence to other people. And when I played Frogger, I didn't want to run across the street and dodge cars.
I was gonna say, I'll do you one better, Jay Chris. I have 4 guns in the room with me, 1 in arm's reach, and I play nothing but shooting games. Still no urge.
Yeah, I mean,
so if that's the case, then is it possible there's something more? And is it SSRIs that are being prescribed at monstrous levels?
What is an SSRI?
What's that?
What is an SSRI?
Like an antidepressant.
Antidepressant drugs that
mood stabilizer.
I see a lot of parents with kids making wild excuses for their children and it's based in love. It's like, oh, my child has a problem and we need to address it. And and parents naturally want to do everything they can. My child's afraid of this, so we don't make him do that. It's like, well, kids are always going to be coming up through tough times in their lives and uncomfortable situations. And I grew up in a generation where you kind of went, I know you're uncomfortable. You're going to be joining a new soccer team where you don't know anybody. And maybe you're not as good as everybody. And my natural reaction was like, I don't want to do that. That makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't know anyone there. They're not going to like me. And my parents luckily didn't go, oh, let's put him on antidepressant drugs and not make him do it. No, my parents went, you're going to go anyways, and you're going to try. Sure. And if I hated it and I bitched about it every day, they go, okay, well, maybe that wasn't your thing, but we're going to try something else. And you keep trying. And, I look at Mad and Reed, my niece and nephew in California. Those kids are in karate for a while and it didn't stick. And they're in chess clubs and swim clubs and soccer and baseball and they're constantly. And it doesn't mean they're always comfortable in those situations, but someone is pushing them to like, we're going to keep trying here, keep them focused, keep them going, not bow out to everything they get uncomfortable with. And I think a lot of parents nowadays are going, oh, my kid has anxiety. So, and it's like, well, what are you going to do? Throw them on medication as a fucking toddler? Like, I don't think that's the answer.
But that's unfortunately what I'm seeing them do the most. It's iPad parents, basically.
Yeah. I
can only speak to how I was raised and my situation. And it's just like, as weird as my upbringing was, it's like, I grew up in a neighborhood where we played tag with BB guns. That's how you know that you were tagged. And like, it was like one pump. That was all you were allowed to do. And some fucking idiot brought out like a CO2 cartridge. And I was like, with pellets. Yep. And it's like, it was like back in the day, it was the Viet Cong of Oakland County. It was craziness. And my grandfather wanted me to fight all the time. He wanted me to go to war when I was like 7. And he was one of the people who raised me. And my grandmother was a pacifist and she was absolutely against it. And my mom was like a drug addict alcoholic who was always incoherent. So it was just like, there was no real choice for me other than to just go through it. There was no drug, there was no drug options. There was no escape. But you're right. It seems like now that seems to be much more the answer.
Well,
according to your stats.
Yeah. And dude, I wish I could say, hey, I've done deep dives into SSRIs. And every time I talk about this, someone will send me a lengthy article about studies and they're terrifying. It's fucking terrifying. And it would require looking into the medical industry and overprescribing of children like that. People aren't ready to have that conversation. Because I understand what parents are doing there. And especially, I don't think you see this with parents that don't have a lot. If I'm being kind, they don't have time for your bullshit. Like, it's like, go to fucking school, do your stuff, do your homework. Like, the more entitled that a kid is, the more, their problems are nursed and addressed on some level, it seems. There's a lot in the therapy world and the medication world. And it just seems like the correlation is so strong that just having a base argument about, we need to repeal the Second Amendment or we need to take people's guns. It's like, yeah, that's not going to fix your problem here. It goes deeper than that. And until we're willing as a society to have that conversation, kids didn't change that much from when you and I were kids, Chris, to when Garrett was a kid to kids now. I don't think they have,
So you think it's parenting?
I don't know. I think parents are doing the best they can. And it's obviously no ill intent. They're not trying to fuck up their kids by any stretch. They're trying to use the latest to do the best by their kids. I just think if you're putting your kids on medications, unless it's an extreme situation, it doesn't seem like it's playing out well.
Statistically, based on the several school shooters you're making reference to,
Yeah.
as far as like upper middle class, like West Bloomfield, like Oakland County type areas.
Yeah.
Have all these school shooters been proven to have been on SSRIs?
Garrett, you might know more about that than me. A lot
I'm
of
actually
them.
looking up the stats right now.
And yeah, when you're talking about Aurora, Colorado, when you're talking about Parkland, Florida, when you're talking about, where was it? Clarkston, Michigan?
Oxford.
Oxford. I'm sorry. Oxford. And I don't want to blame these communities. I don't want to blame these. It's a horrible, horrible situation. And it's not, it just stands out to me that you're not seeing, yes, there's violence in inner city schools. Absolutely. There's knives. There's a gun gets in. But when you had overwhelming gang violence in those schools, they put metal detectors in. They put stuff in, yet they don't even want to have the discussion about putting former retired military guys or retired police officers in every one of these schools and just letting people know this isn't an absolute soft target. You're not going to come in here and just open fire and have carte blanche on our students for 10 minutes before anyone can arrive.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think having retired police officers, military metal detectors is a bad idea at all. I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
It seems like those guys that go into being policemen or being military guys, they more so than a lot of us selfish human beings, they have love of country, love of community. They are helpful people. Doesn't mean they're all great, of course. There's shitty doctors and shitty everything. But by and large, those people tend to really have a community in mind, love of country, and it seems like giving purpose to a lot of those guys. You see them, military guys struggle with what am I going to do? Where am I going to get purpose? It's like, how about your next mission is to protect at all costs these kids. Our futures,
right?
You could put them in every fucking public school in America.
Yeah, and they'd be super down.
I know they would. It wouldn't cost that much. They'd get a sense of purpose and community back that so many struggle with. And, that seems like just an obvious starting point to me. But I know today's media landscape, the headlines is all going to be the usual grimy politicians up there going, we demand more and we need to remove weapons of war from our community. That's the immediate argument. It's like, how's that been working out the last 20 years?
Sure.
The argument isn't helping. It's not working. So how about we try something different? Anyways, if you're looking up SSRIs, Garrett, I should probably, and feel free, walters@detroitcast.com. If you want to email me, people have done it in the past, stuff about it. We can look at it more. I kind of get in the weeds on that stuff and I get bored personally. Yeah. But it is, there's definitely a connection there.
What I got here, every article I find won't give me straight up numbers, but they are saying that the amount of SSRIs in younger people being taken has correlated directly with the amount of school shootings going up. It's almost kind of on the same track. Mm-hmm. And then also we got a super chat from Will, $5. He just said, "You guys rock. Where's Softy Raj?" And that was as he got in here. And then he said, "Feel free to read his last comment, which is the problem is people are waking up, and the ones that aren't are moving in the other direction. This quote, 'We will fix it' time is failing." In relation to the school shootings.
Yeah. No, I we used to make fun of it 10 years ago when we came up with TAPAS. Thoughts and prayers and shit. Thoughts and prayers and all that shit.
But what else do you say?
Huh?
I know it does nothing, but what else do you say?
Nothing. That's fine. But when that's all you're doing, and it's like people got really tired of that. Like, and I would just blow it off like, yeah, thoughts and prayers, all that shit, because it just became a throwaway. Like, oh, this is what we're supposed to say. Sorry for your loss. Like, can we not do any better than sorry for your fucking loss? Can we not even have the discussion? You don't lose the argument about whatever your position may be by strengthening that situation. We
Right.
protect our banks. We have security and armed citizens all in a lot of aspects of our lives.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason you can't put a few guys, and make the argument against it for me. I've heard arguments as dumb as, a kid seeing someone with a gun would scare the children. And I'm like, they don't even have to. They don't have to be dressed like cops or military people. They don't even have to have the fucking gun out.
I disagree, though. I mean, based on how many conversations I've had with the younger generation, they're so familiar with drills and they're so aware of the shit. And like some of them, it doesn't even bother them as much as it bothers all of us who never went through it, who are worked up about it.
That's crazy.
And so that I disagree. I don't think that they would have a problem with it if they knew that someone was there to protect them.
Yeah, I only say that because I read that. It might have been the last school shooting story that we did, unfortunately. And it was like, well, yeah, that would scare the kids. And I'm like, I bet if the situation showed up, they wouldn't be so scared then of that guy being there as the only possible line of defense.
Yeah.
Like they'll be begging. I guarantee these schools at Appalachia High today would give anything to have had someone on their side that could possibly give some sort of line of defense. I know they would.
I mean, the kid was 14.
14.
Yeah.
14.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
That's insane.
I know.
I mean, I sure as fuck wasn't thinking about. I mean, there was
what
planning.
were you thinking about at 14?
At 14?
Yeah.
Boners.
Yeah.
How I could see bikinis and
bikinis.
All that shit.
Can I sneak a cigarette from someone? Can I steal a cigarette from someone and see what that's all about?
Can I stay out late, not drink, but stay out late?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can I stay? Do you think we could stay up all night and see the sunrise?
Yeah.
Think we could pull an all-nighter? Do
all
one of those?
Shit.
Like it's just it's wild, man. It's wild.
I don't I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Anyways, I have thoughts on guerrilla journalism. Are you a fan of guerrilla journalism at all, Chris?
Is that when gorillas from the zoo tell stories to other gorillas?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's when gorillas break out of the zoo and tell you all about it. It's called guerrilla. No, it's these people that go undercover. And it used to be back in the day, you would have those kind of journalists, boots on the ground, kind of worming into a situation, and they would get inside information about, someone snuck into a fucking militia group or a.
Oh, you mean entrapment?
Yeah, I don't mean those people. I mean like trying to get the story when nobody wants you to get the story. And so you see it a lot with CEOs at Enron or, like all kinds of stuff, whistleblowers, some would call them. And there's, James O'Keefe has done some great reporting. A lot of it gets shit on because he goes after politicians a lot and gets a lot of these people, when you're talking about woke DEI initiatives, and then you get these people on camera and it always comes down to pussy. They think they're on a date with some chick, and then they start going, "Oh yeah, this is horseshit. Yeah, we all know it's horseshit."
It's been a surprising amount of guy on guy getting caught in those James O'Keefe
lots
things.
of homos out there, dude. Lots of your community getting stoned too.
Oh, they can't keep their mouths shut. We're gossipy bitches.
Yeah. The power of vagine and dong is strong, and these people. So it's kind of stacked because I totally understand the like. You go on a date with someone, it's a hot chick, you met her on what you think was a dating site, and she's asking questions about your line of work, and you get to be hot shit guy. Talk up your role, talk up your position. Who hasn't been there? Who hasn't tried to, like, Chris, you would never downplay your career if you're trying to impress a girl.
No, but having been stung back in the day.
You have?
Yeah. I mean,
how'd you get stung?
I just like it was an idiotic thing, but it was just it's a long story, but it's not even worth telling. But having had been burned by it, I'm completely cautious now. I'm like, because you have to look at logistically now. Like, okay, you can say what guy wouldn't want to match with a hot girl on a dating app. That's the easiest way to look at it. But now I would look and be like, wait a second. There are so few guys who get matched with hot girls on dating apps.
None.
Especially
like
girls.
None.
Especially girls who want to talk to them about what he does and who want him to mansplain. That's a red flag. I'd be like, let's just go fucking hang out and drink beer and eat beef jerky, Linda.
Yeah. Well, I think some of these require multiple visits, and it's like, yeah, we went on a date, things went well. Now we go out again and we're having a couple cocktails and things are going well. And then that third time they get really comfortable. They really think it's something. And they start spilling. And James O'Keefe was Project Veritas. And, you know, when you're doing the political thing and you sting these people, it turns into like left versus right versus left. Like, I want to know personally, like, and it seems like a lot of people on the left, more so than the right, have been tagged as of late. Is that fair, Garrett?
Yeah, that's fair.
That it seems like in a lot of these stings. Now, if Donald Trump was reckless and going out and he was on a hidden camera or someone in his inner circle and was like,
he was grabbed by the pussy and the N-word tapes that have never come out.
Yeah, that have never come out. But no, I mean policy stuff. If someone was sitting down going, oh yeah, these fucking retards that are blah, 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 and they think I give a shit about abortion. Oh, these guys are morons. Like, I'd want to know that.
Yeah.
I'd want to, not because like, oh, I'm voting this way or voting that way. Like, I'd want to know. I start at the point that I think all these people are full of shit. All of these people that want to be your leader are full of shit. And I'd like to know what they really think. This one is not political in nature at all, but it's going to blow up. We'll watch a few minutes of it. Project Veritas, the reason I bring it up, and James O'Keefe, he left Project Veritas, started O'Keefe Media Group, OMG, and is doing the same sort of guerrilla tactics where I'm guessing you get a hot chick who wants to be a reporter or is a reporter, meeting dudes. A lot of guy on guy stuff is happening too, where they're interviewing these people and on hidden camera and getting how they truly feel. And so this guy with the Washington Redskins, he's the VP of let's see, what was he? VP of content for the Washington football team. I call them the Redskins, but you can call them whatever you want. So the organization has suspended this member of the staff after he was caught making some rather damning comments about the NFL, its players, its fans. And I want to go through some of this video and see, yes, he said this stuff. Now, is he wrong? Is he too honest? What do we have going on here? Because he was secretly filmed during a date with an undercover reporter. His name is Rael Entine, Rael Entine. And again, I think this is a situation where you got a guy trying to impress some chick, trying to get that vagine. You guys want to watch a couple minutes of this and we'll see. Okay, check it out.
Your breakdown, your description of the Commanders players.
Over 50% of our roster, right, is either white religious and God says, fuck the gays.
Meet Rael Entine, the Vice President of Content for the Washington Commanders.
Another big chunk is very low-income African American that comes from a community that is inherently very homophobic.
Rael Entine goes on to say some of the NFL players are, quote, dumb as all hell.
Would you say most people who work at the NFL, with you as the exception of your former boss, would you say that they're just not very smart?
There's just obviously a spectrum, but I've met some very, very smart people.
What about like the players?
There's some that are dumb as all hell.
Commanders VP of Content Rael Entine discussed his disdain for NFL fans to our OMG American Swiper.
Isn't that the
stating they are, quote,
what's that movie?
high school educated alcoholics and mouth breathers.
With Susan Sarandon.
Most of the fans, I would say, are, how do school educated alcoholics.
So they're like lower class people.
I hate to use that term. I would just say mouth breathers. I know, it's way worse.
He revealed that his job is to essentially operate, quote, state-run media.
My job is to sell hope.
Sell hope
to the fans, right? I need them buying tickets. When there's not much hope to sell, I still gotta dig deep to find it.
Why do you think there's not much hope to sell right now?
Because we had like pipes leaking sewage on our fans in the middle of a game. And I have to put out a social post saying like, it wasn't sewage water we promised. That is state-run media.
Our OMG American Swiper questioned Vice President of Content for the Washington Commanders football team, Ryle Entine, and his knowledge and opinion of NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, calling him a $50 million puppet.
What about Roger?
Oh yeah, he's a puppet, a $50 million puppet.
Yeah.
I am Roger Goodell, Commissioner of the National Football League, and I'm here today to discuss the NFL's efforts to promote safe and respectful workplaces at the Washington Commanders.
All right, you can kill it there, Garrett. I think we get the idea.
Yeah.
The Redskins organization has come out and said the language used in that video runs counter to our values at the Commanders organization. We have suspended the employee pending an internal investigation and will reserve further comment at this time. So fired. You can reserve all the comment you want. You can do all the internal investigation you want. That dude is gone.
How would he not be suspicious, though? Because of her line of questioning was so unbelievably reporter.
Yeah, I know. Well, keep in mind, Chris, now I would have a problem if this was uniquely edited and you took out of context sentences that were said, didn't line up with a question. Like that shit will drive me nuts. This could have been recorded over weeks, over hours, and it could be a couple of those questions getting a natural response filled in with like, oh my God, how's your mom doing? Questions. And that doesn't make this video. They're not relevant. So to your point, I don't think someone is sitting there going, tell me about Roger Goodell. What do you think of African-American players? What do you think about your athletes? Like, how dumb is your fan base? Like that would never fly. But a good journalist can kind of pull stuff out of people and slowly kind of get how they feel.
What qualifies as a good journalist? You're referring to a hot chick?
No, not being caught for one, and being able to get damning information out of people. I don't know how damning this is. Look, I was around NFL players a lot back in 97, 98, 99, hung out with a lot of Lions players. A lot of them were really fucking dumb. A lot of them were alcoholics. A lot of them were total meatheads. Some of them were really fucking smart, business savvy, just like anything. But this idea he does say that in that video. Yeah, some of the very smartest people I've ever met have been in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Fair. And a lot of them are dumb as shit. A lot of them come from inner city, horrible situations, very little education, a lot of religious background that says homos is sin. Like, that's true too. Well, you know?
The African-American community is notoriously opposed to homosexuality. It's like the parents, the older generation of parents, like that's when, like, I did some research on it for a show I was on. And again, if you're coming to me as a news source, you've got questions. But I remember because I did some research on it, and it was basically like in the African-American community, the reason that AIDS was so prominent was because so many of the men were closeted because they weren't allowed to tell their parents because their parents were absolutely opposed to it.
Sure.
Which is which made sense. But as far as there's way more gay people in the NFL who say that they're gay. And I'm sure that even though it's supposed to be all right, was there one or two players who were accepted?
You had Michael Sam,
and then the Raider guy,
Carl Nassib.
Yeah, and I mean, I was at a party with a guy who was sleeping with Green Bay Packers dude, and he was like,
really?
Yeah, and he was just talking. He was like, he's got him on his phone. He was like showing me pictures of this guy, and I was like, I don't want to know any of this. That's none of my business. It's your relationship. But he goes, there are so many closeted people in the NFL.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, not
at all.
It doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
Wasn't he talking about the audience? He was talking about the audience being high school educated alcoholics that he needs to provide
the
hope.
fan base. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
I think he goes on to, let's see here. He also claimed that 50% of his roster is white and religious, suggesting they're also homophobic in accordance with Christian anti-alphabet teachings. I love hip hop. Hip hop is very homophobic. It's a cultural thing that I hope gets better. There's no doubt about it that the hip hop community historically has been less than awesome to the gay community. No question about that.
Wouldn't that back up the research that I was talking about earlier?
Oh,
it's like it doesn't necessarily mean that they're opposed to it. It just means that it's not approved by their parents, which is much more important to them than the general public. So they have to come out against.
Kind of, but some of them do actually take on violent acts too, like the homo population.
Okay, like
give me 1 second. I know XXXTentacion is a big one. His giant rapper, huge famous guy. He died recently in shooting, but he famously would beat the living shit, like to a pulp, of his gay cellmate for looking at him just because he was gay.
And he was a guy who was buying a car and doing it online and got shot at the dealership.
Yeah. That's
wow. Look at Chris with his hip hop knowledge.
Hey man, I research stuff. I'm a question writer. I gotta research shit all the time.
I didn't even know who you guys were talking about. That was just a bunch of alphabet letters you said.
He just as an example right off the top of my head, he famously would beat the shit out of his cellmate because he was gay. Like they had to remove that guy from his juvie cell and find some new people.
Yikes. That's terrible.
Do you guys think it's now obviously you don't want to say this out loud, especially if you're in a position, when you're talking about stuff, but is it outrageous to say maybe most is a bit strong? Most NFL fans, I would say, are high school educated alcoholics. That's what he said. Most of the Redskins fan base throughout the NFL labeled them mouth breathers. I don't take offense at that. I consider myself kind of a higher echelon mouth breather, but not much more.
What's a mouth breather by definition?
A dumbass.
I think that's
because you're
just somebody who's generally just
Instead of calling people the R word, which you're not allowed to call them anymore, isn't that like mouth breathers or window lickers?
I need to look up.
Mouth breather or window licker.
Mouth.
I'm a little offended because that doesn't apply to me. I am a high school educated alcoholic who does not like football. So where do I stand?
Yeah, you're getting there though. You became sort of a Lions fan last year.
I guess we'll see how this year pans out.
Yeah.
If they start winning, I'll be back on the train. I'm one of those fans.
There you go. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
It means stupid person.
Yeah.
Yep.
But window licking, I'll be honest, sounds pretty fun.
I know, right? I don't know what the origin of that is. I'm assuming it's short bus related.
The origin of mouth breather?
No, of window licker. Is that what that is? I can't remember. I know I've broken these down before.
Hold on, let me look. Window.
Yeah, look it up.
I'm looking it up right now too.
There are, in fact, a lot of mouth breather fans in the NFL.
Yeah.
What is it? What does it say?
From the 80s.
Oh, it's so inappropriate. It's
Go ahead.
According to the Urban Dictionary, a person of limited mental capacity who licks the windows of a short bus.
Okay.
My friend Joe is a window licker.
Yeah. So he didn't call them window lickers, but mouth breathers.
Okay, so
we've all seen that guy sitting in the stadium in the 300 section, half of his face painted. Remember the brawls, Chris, in our early days at the Silverdome?
They're still there in every arena and every every week. They're coming back tomorrow.
Yeah, but I can't wait, dude. I am so excited. I can't wait.
Well, look at our show's own Big E. I mean, that is your high school educated alcoholic.
Yeah, and certainly a mouth breather.
What's the highest level of education you've had, Mike?
I had some college,
Yeah.
but even that was kind of bullshit. Like I never wanted to be there. It was like, yeah, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'd give anything to go back in time and take it more seriously. I really would, but at the time it didn't mean much to me.
Word.
Yeah. What about you?
Some college.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wasn't interested.
Yeah, me either. I had other shit I wanted to do.
Yeah, I wanted to drink beer and watch football.
That's why I joined the military.
Now, these investigations, I get really mad at the DEI push because when the NFL or any of these big leagues puts their foot on the scale of society, it bothers me. I don't find it to be genuine. It's just my gut feeling. Like, this isn't how they feel, but but that's how they behave. And it's like, end racism. Well, thank God we spray painted that in the end zone. That ought to fix everything. Let's put a sticker bumper on the bumper of the helmet that says, like, Black Lives Matter. It doesn't feel genuine to me. It feels panderous in stuff that's, kind of big topics in society. And so what you end up seeing time and time again with these things is, we just throw some money at it and we're really proud of our initiative. Good. There we go. We got some good press. We didn't really do anything. That's just how I feel about it. And so when this guy goes on to call the social justice initiatives at the NBA and that the NFL is jamming down everybody's throat at every turn, like the commitment to Black Lives Matter, pride, diversity, equity, and inclusion are performative for the sake of good publicity. It's to make as much money as possible. Yeah, that's exactly what I think of it, too.
I've famously made the joke every single Gay Pride Month, every June when it comes around. I say, hey, instead of giving your money to a bunch of corporations, just give it to me, a gay directly.
Yeah, there you go. Instead of going into Target and buying a new water bottle with a rainbow on it. Is that what you mean, Garrett?
Yeah, just pass me some cash.
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
So I understand what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you in any way, either one of you, actually.
Yeah.
But my question is, let's say it works on some people. Why is that bad?
Because it comes at the cost of other people who might question any of it.
Okay, so
who might question.
I'm sorry. Were you more mad at stop racism in the end zone than you were happy at the potential of it helping some people?
No, here's where I really got pissed off. End racism in the end zone is like, you might as well spray paint, don't shoot kittens in the end zone. It's about as effective as that. So, okay, put end racism in the end zones, whatever. Like, don't kick puppies. Cool. I think it has as much effect.
It's Joe Biden signing the Emmett Till Act, making lynching illegal.
Yeah, lynching is
we all
illegal
needed
in the country.
Be told that.
Great. The problem I had was Black Lives Matter, when it was marching across the country, and there were 564, I believe, riots throughout the nation, small businesses burned to the ground, billions of dollars in property damage. And by the way, when that shit clears up and goes away and people go home and the cameras go home, those cities are just fucked. We know it from Detroit in the 60s. Mm-hmm. Ferguson, Missouri will never be the same. Like, hope CNN was glad to put cameras on it and glorify the behavior, because Ferguson, Missouri is over. It's over.
What happened in Ferguson, Missouri?
Ferguson, Missouri is where Michael Brown was killed by Officer Darren Wilson.
That was Floyd. George Floyd.
Or George Floyd was which one?
He was
Ferguson.
Missouri. Yeah, Ferguson.
Ferguson, Missouri was Michael Brown.
Was it? Let me check.
Yeah. Minneapolis
right,
was George Floyd.
Yep.
God damn it, Garrett. Don't cut me off.
I'm getting my Minneapolis, Missouri.
Tired of being right. George Floyd. And so Black Lives Matter was born out of that, which sounds great. In theory, we all believe Black Lives Matter. Why wouldn't they? So when but that quickly got corrupted into, if you didn't just whole cloth excuse the behavior of really shitty behavior, people that were bastardizing their First Amendment rights and trampling those and torching cities in the name of social justice, if you went, wait a minute, hold on, I'm all for your cause, and yeah, Black Lives Matter, I'm all for that. I'm not for torching a fucking neighborhood. No, that your protections of First Amendment rights end there, period. And so people like me stood up and went, wait a minute, no. You don't get to fucking do billions of dollars of property damage, destroy small businesses. Somebody worked their fucking ass off, not you, to get that business up, and you've just burned it to the ground. Fuck them? Is that the attitude? No, that's not okay. And if you said that, it meant you weren't for Black lives. which couldn't be further from the truth. And so when the NFL puts its foot on that scale and it turns into, if you don't just go along with anything Black Lives Matter is a complete racket and scandal now. Complete and utter racket, period. The research has been done. It's a scam.
Didn't they just endorse Trump?
Who? But maybe.
Yeah, they just did.
Yeah, they see Kamala Harris for what it is. But that the money that was going there never went to help any black people, black communities outside of Patrisse Cullors and her fucking trans girlfriend. That's who that money went to help. And they didn't build one fucking park in a troubled neighborhood in this country. They didn't build one fucking education center to help a black community that's been overlooked by their government. None of it. They stole the money. They bought mansions in Toronto, in Los Angeles, in white neighborhoods, and moved in themselves and threw fucking parties. That's what they did with that money. And there's no accountability for it. And so you grifted millions of good-hearted people to donate to that cause, all with pure intentions. I believe they meant that. I'm giving $100 of my hard-earned money to these scam artists over here. That's how that played out. And so when the NFL goes, just say it, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives. It's like, well, I'd like to have the conversation about what was done with this, how this played out. This turned out to be quite destructive in nature. That doesn't make me a racist for noticing that. So anytime one of these big fucking corporate leagues wants to get involved in stuff like this is how I think they feel for real. I don't think it's genuine. I don't believe it. I don't. You know, this is a league that has historically covered up some of the most atrocious behavior from their players because we got to win on Sundays. I don't give a shit if so-and-so beat the dog shit out of his girl. They'll cover up any of that stuff. So I
think any team would do that.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I can't even imagine how many people Jerry Jones has in his basement. You know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah.
You know, if anybody does something wrong, you know, he's got a prison system under his kitchen and he just burns them with like.
Yeah. Would that surprise you? It wouldn't surprise me.
I don't think anything would surprise me. And also, like, if you were a cop and it was the night before the Super Bowl, okay, and the Lions are in the Super Bowl against, I don't know, the Chiefs, and Taylor Swift's going to be there, and it's going to be, for whatever reason, it happens to be at a year that the home game is at Ford Field. You have tickets, you're there, but you're a cop. Okay? So the night before, you pull over Jamar Gibbs and Jared and who? Okay, Jameer Gibbs and St. Brown. And they're running a train on Taylor Swift and they're beating the shit out of her. Okay? And they're both drunk as hell. Yeah. And they're driving and one of them almost killed a kid.
Wait, they're driving and running a train on her?
Yeah, they're very talented athletes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And you catch them doing this. But it's the Super Bowl tomorrow, and you've got $5,000 bet on the Lions. Yeah. Do you let them go and give them a ride home?
Oh, 100%. Me? Me?
Yeah.
You didn't even have to say that I had a $5,000 bet on it. No, me. No.
But Taylor was damaged, and
yeah, no.
That doesn't. But because of the sports,
yeah.
You're gonna
win. I want my team to win. Yeah.
But then, how do you feel? How do you feel about those a-hole cops who throw athletes in jail for DUI? Do you think they're just not fans of the team?
Sounds like it. No, I think excusing bad behavior is horrible. We've talked about this for years. Whenever I see some entourage and you've got, the running back of the Chiefs in the middle of it, taking swings at a girl in a hotel, and you're like, dude, that's your fucking meal ticket. Like the rest of the group wants to get involved in the beatdown, fine, but keep fucking superstar out of it. Can't have him in there. He can't be in the scrum. Nope. I'm not going to fix all the ills of society, but protect the asset here, right? We're trying to win a chip here.
Yeah, I think didn't Chappelle say something like that when he was talking about that guy who jumped on stage? He's like, I wanted to hit him, but I didn't want to get sued. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, I'm sorry for that tangent.
No, I love the tangent. I do. What was that in the background? Was that a horn of like a siren?
It's a car.
It was a motorcycle.
Was that in Michigan or LA?
The motorcycle was in Michigan, but I'm in LA.
That siren that just went off, that was a motorcycle, you're saying?
Yeah, it was like one of those Kawasaki like type Toyota type.
Oh,
really
it
fast
sounded
bikes.
it sounded to me like a tornado siren starting to go off or something.
No, like right. So like I live in my apartment. It goes right behind these like 3 really expensive houses, and so every morning I hear a La Cucaracha horn, which is horrible. It just cuts through everything, and then I think that's the car that the person drives, and then wait, so I can fit in with this show. I kind of want to build a wall around that car.
All right, good boy.
Is that good?
Boy,
Yeah, you're good.
Thanks. And then there's a really loud motorcycle and a group who has like the most hedonistic parties ever. And I can only kind of see it, but I'm always like looking.
Yeah.
But every 5 seconds, but I'm right on we're right behind them is Fairfax. So there's constantly helicopters, fire trucks, police cars,
Yeah.
and car accidents.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you think? Just going back to wrap up that story about the guy caught on the video. What do you think the Commanders organization does? They blow him out?
They didn't fire him initially. I think that what they're realistically going to do is because he looked like he was a person of color, correct?
I think he was a white male, but he had a name that would say maybe he didn't come from here. So yeah, it's kind of.
I think he's a person of color, and I think that what they're
pull
going to
that
do
up again. Pull that video up, Garrett. Let's check.
He looked like he was Israeli or Indian.
I wouldn't say Israeli or Indian, but I could definitely see him being something.
What was his name? Rael or something? R-E-A-L?
Yeah, like Rael.
Rael. I don't know what that is.
Could be Israeli.
Why does that even matter? Like,
or Chaldean.
You know,
yeah, I'll tell you why it matters, because that's the punishment he's going to get. What a white.
Oh, I know.
Oh no, this dude's fine.
Yeah.
Slap on the wrist.
You
well, he already
so?
got fired. So
no, I thought you said he
got
wasn't
suspended.
Fired.
Oh, suspended.
Yeah, he was suspended apparently. But I wrote so fired. He seems to have a grasp of everything. I mean, that to me is just sad when it's like, oh, but he's Israeli, so let's give him another chance. Like,
yeah,
Oh,
okay.
But that's the way society looks right now. I mean,
it's crazy.
I know.
It's so irritating.
I don't disagree with you, but it's just how it is.
I know. I bitch about it every day.
But didn't Ford just say that we're no longer going to be diversified?
A lot of companies are getting rid of DEI.
A lot of them are going away.
It's not that they're going to be non-diversified anymore. They're just getting rid of their DEI department because they're paying a lot of money for it, and it doesn't do much.
Yeah,
it just tells them hire more blacks. It's what else does a DEI department do? Hey, you don't have enough black people here. Get more.
It divides people by skin color, is what it does.
Do you remember the old Benetton ad?
I do. And
Garrett, if you could pull one up. If you could pull up any Benetton ad, which shows several different types of representations,
ethnicities,
and I'm going to tell you exactly, like, if once he shows it, I'll tell you exactly what it basically, because I bet it's the same representation of the commercial or the billboard that's on Sunset right now, or every billboard that's on Sunset right now.
Every commercial in my living room.
It's
hilarious.
Close. No, like it was just
the United Colors of Benetton.
Sure, but I meant just like a picture of like 6 different ethnic representations. I'm sure they're all covered in that video.
Yeah. So was it like a rainbow picture, you mean, of people?
No, I just meant, well, maybe. No, obviously.
I got one right here. Hold on. Don't everyone talk at once.
No,
it's fine.
The pressure's on. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay. That's like, you could basically, that's the exact same ad that's on Sunset right now, but underneath it says SEAL Team 6.
Really?
Yeah. And it's so entertaining.
That's so not SEAL Team 6, by the way.
Right. But that's what
Just saying.
But like, you look at an ad, you look at a Disney ad for any new movie, it's got every single ethnicity represented.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Well, speaking of SEAL Team 6, some more disturbing information. I was waiting for this. I was hoping this would happen with whistleblowers coming out about the Secret Service performance. That the government has seemed to be going through this DEI bullshit too with the military. And I can't imagine lifelong military guys. Some of them that I know are like, poo-poo this bullshit. But, there's a real push. You see the videos. We've seen the videos that the U.S. Army's putting out and what they want you to believe as far as, that kind of stuff. Well, whistleblowers are starting to come out and talk about what's going on. Because my fear is if you're not just strictly hiring the best and the brightest for every position, it's merit-based. And I'm sorry if you're too short to do this job. I'm sorry if your eyesight's not good enough to do this job. I'm sorry that you can't run fast enough to do this job. Go fuck yourself. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to. It's the same reason you love the NFL and the NBA. I don't want quotas in the NBA. I want the biggest, baddest, toughest, strongest, fastest, highest jumping motherfuckers on planet Earth playing that game. I want the NFL the same way. I want my military that way. I want my firefighters that way, period. I don't want special rules for this group, that group, whatever. And the fear is when you see collapses in failure, epic failures at this level, you go, well, what are you hiring that is then in turn hiring these people? What are the basis for these hires? Are they the baddest motherfuckers on planet Earth that are taking these roles and exclusively getting these roles? Or is it like the former director of the FBI said that she's got a very big push to be more inclusive in their hiring? And it's like, well, how's that working out? Because it looks like catastrophic fails on the part of something that I didn't ever want to think about. Like they got that shit. So whistleblowers have warned Congress that federal agents reassigned to protective candidate details, including Trump's, were egregiously underprepared. So Senator Josh Hawley, he's from Missouri, claimed in an X post that Homeland Security personnel had been thrown onto Trump's protective detail with nothing more than a 2-hour online training at the July 13th rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Holy shit. Wow. Homeland Security is not a protective detail organization. They investigate like online crimes. That's what they deal with.
So where was his normal detail?
I don't know what they have. That's part of the problem. The main
people are on Biden because he's the actual president. These are just an additional.
Well, sort of. The detail for the sitting president is different, but there's always like former presidents have Secret Service detail. Teams aren't as big because they're not traveling as much. They're not doing as many public speaking engagements. Until Obama, presidents basically fucked off. They understood how hard the job was. They were not going to get involved and critique what the new administration, because they've been through it and they know how difficult it is. Obama is the first case we've ever seen of a president kind of dipping their toe back in and talking shit in politics. And I could have seen that coming just because he was young. He was a younger president. He wasn't an 80-year-old man, 70-year-old man when he got in office.
Did you think he was a good president?
Obama?
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was, I thought he was horribly divisive. I thought he got fucked in his second term. I thought Republicans were unwilling to work with him. But I don't think he did as much as I'd hoped he would do to bring the nation together. It seemed like we got more inflamed with race relations when it should have been the exact opposite. How much of that to blame is him? I don't know. I wish it would have gone way better, but I think he got really frustrated with the way the right treated him. And then he turned into just like, well, fuck them. His second term was completely just, pen to paper, executive order, everything. And which is why it was so easy for Trump to undo with a swipe of a pen when he got into office. So like, and Biden did the same to try. Like, it's a shitty way we're going right now. Mm-hmm. So was it a great success? No, I think he was involved in a lot more foreign wars. He, people that think he's the most inclusive guy ever, he deported more people than any previous administration ever. So if you think he was like a big immigration guy, you'd be wrong. And the drone strike, he drone fucking bombed more more brown people in this world than any administration's ever done.
Not just that, he also drone strike 2 American citizens.
2 Americans,
knowingly, American citizens.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where it's like that used to be one of the worst offenses to me until we hit Afghanistan. And I realized it does get worse.
Yeah. Who would have ever thought that Afghanistan withdrawal was, whew. So Josh Hawley, going back to his comment, said, think about this. The former president of the United States is sent out on stage. Most of the people there are not trained, not qualified. They only got a webinar training, and even that didn't work. The allegations suggest that a significant number of personnel tasked with providing security for Trump at the July 13th rally were egregiously underprepared by the Secret Service to carry out this mission. When Homeland Security investigations agents partner with the Secret Service, they should be properly trained. New whistleblower allegations contend that is not what's happening. A whistleblower told him that the only training received by many HSI agents was a 2-hour webinar on Microsoft Teams featuring pre-recorded videos. Imagine 1,000 people logging onto Microsoft Teams at the same time after being informed at the last minute that everyone needed to log in individually. Once it got rolling, the Secret Service instructor couldn't figure out how to get the audio working on the pre-recorded videos, which I'm told are the same videos as last year. All told, they restarted the videos approximately 6 times, none of which was helpful. So since that, they've done nothing with their, according to other whistleblowers, they've done nothing. They've updated none of their security training for improvements going forward. Nothing new, nothing improved since the assassination attempt on former President Trump. Good for these whistleblowers. You know, it can't be easy to do that. These are historically people that don't speak out much. They're private individuals. I look at people that are in the Secret Service, that are in, military units for this country. These aren't people that do it for public fame. They don't do it for mountains of money. They do it for pride of country, love of country. And it's not easy for them to come out and say hard truths about what's going on here. There is more to the story of January 6th, believe it or not. There is way fucking more to the story of the cocaine found in the White House. That, bank it, mark this video. The stories behind that will come out. I promise you, the real stories about the fucking coke in the White House will come out. They won't be able to sweep that forever. And Chris, you brought it up a few weeks ago, and I can't stop thinking about it. And you're 100% right about how catastrophic this could have been for this nation. Mm-hmm. It could have been indescribable in how bad this could have gotten. You and I both worry about what a November 6th is going to look like, regardless of how an election goes.
Yeah.
Had this assassination attempt been a millimeter over further than it was, this could have been catastrophic. And, I liked living in a world where I knew there were stronger, tougher, braver human beings, men and women, that had that shit on lockdown behind us, that our most, our most important people that needed that protection, as they all do, were taken care of. And maybe it's just watching too many fucking movies over the years that you believe these, this is how it's done. And maybe a rude awakening is happening, because if this bumbling bullshit is how it's really done, it's sad. But I don't think it is historically, I think the focus personally, and I'll let you guys talk if you got anything to add, I don't know. The focus to me when it comes to the military, you are a fucking trained killing machine, period. End of story. You don't take any shit. That is your role. You want to be a U.S. Marine, you're a trained fucking murder machine. It's what you are. You protect at all cost. This idea of like, oh yeah, we need to diversify. We need to hear what the trans community thinks in the fucking U.S. No, not there. Pull that shit at Target. Pull that shit at McDonald's, Starbucks, right. Not the fucking U.S. military. Sorry, it's not up for debate. If there's some trans shit kicker out there, if there's some fucking gay guy out there, lesbian out there who's just an ass whooping Marine, good for them. I don't need to know it. I don't need to know what your sexual orientation is. Like it comes down to that for me. I'm not a sexist. I'm not a transphobe. I'm not a homophobe. It's irrelevant. Shit like this is being laughed at around the world. When you have such errors in the way they conducted business on that Butler, Pennsylvania rally, like inexcusable. The fact that they still haven't fired anybody, still aren't making comments about it, still are being evasive in their testimony, still fucking lying to Congress. I hope more of these brave people come out and at great risk to their careers, tremendous risk. It's what big fucking people do in big moments in history, is they step up and they don't think about themselves and they come out and they actually provide full context about how this stuff is being run. You know, it is what it is. And there are better podcasts out there than this one to give you a lot more detail about this shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Go ahead,
it's just
Jared.
how I feel.
I was going to say, just through my time in the military and how boot camp works and everything like that, there is some diversity that can go into the military in terms of what jobs people are going in for and what kind of requirements those require. So I understand the military, basically, it does make everybody go through the same boot camp, which is understandable at some respects, but in some other respects, there are people who are going to be larger bodied, a little, maybe trans, something like that, who are probably really good behind a fucking computer system or with IT stuff or other aspects in the military that do help a lot. And the issue I do see is that they send everybody through the same training. Now, that being said, there could be a different school for people who are going to be non-combatants. All I want to know, though, is that the combatants are the best for the combat role. You need to have the best person for the role they're going into and not just it's a mix of both, you know?
Yeah, I mean, nothing is more important to me in that scenario than who is most qualified for the job.
Yeah.
That's it. It
Exactly.
doesn't matter. Everything that you listed isn't even an issue, Mike. It's like, it's the most qualified for the job.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you're into something different, I don't care who is the most qualified for the job. And it's
when you have the Secret Service, the director of the Secret Service saying that that's not her missive, that wasn't her priority, was a more diverse and
she
inclusive.
Stepped down.
No, sort of. She
Did
stepped
she not?
down. Yeah, she did. She wasn't going to.
Okay, so she's gone. So that wouldn't the hope.
Her number two, Ron Rowe, is in charge now, and he's apparently just as big a shitbag, and nothing has changed. So
I don't know that. I mean, I don't know enough about him. I just know that what you're saying, what you said is correct. And what you said as well, Garrett. It's like the most important thing. We want our most important political figures, regardless of whether or not you agree with them or disagree with them, to be protected by the absolute best of protecting machines there are.
I actually took great pride in that, and I'm not even joking. Historically, when those agents have their own families, they have their own political beliefs, they have their own ideas, but knowing that they rose above all of us, like, let us ants pick and fight and bitch about how you're doing your job and how things are run, and we squabble about dumb shit, and the black kid did this and all the white kids racist. Like, let us, like, they didn't get involved. It's like, I don't give a fuck. I have a job to do. It's protecting this human being regardless. And I love that. I love my entire life. It didn't matter whether they were protecting, George Bush or fucking Obama. Didn't matter. It's a special human being that can sign up for that gig. And it's not negotiable to me about, like, having diversity. And I listened to quite a few, especially when this first broke. Dan Bongino, former Secret Service agent, former New York City cop, has done some incredible reporting on this story. Incredible. And the access he has to Secret Service agents, I highly recommend checking out some of those episodes that Dan has done on this topic. And he is appalled. And the rank and file are appalled. Embarrassed. These guys are walking down the street in shame. These guys that have dedicated their fucking lives to this. And you have some fucking asshole at the front of it talking about DEI initiatives, and they're horrified by it.
I remember when like my whole perception of it has always been since watching the videotapes of like Reagan getting shot.
Yeah.
It's like you had Brady jump in front, or like literally jump in front of the president and gone. He was absolutely not the same person. But that was, you knew in that moment, he did his best to protect the president. And guess what? He did.
Yeah.
And in the same situation, I get what you're saying, brother. I don't disagree with you. That should be the whole initiative.
Yeah. It seems like with that in particular, and then to see it go this poorly, it can't help the cause. It can't help the cause when it's this catastrophic of a fail, and you go, it's sheer luck that you didn't get a president murdered on your watch, a former president and a candidate running currently murdered on your watch, and that could have been,
thank goodness.
It could have been so much worse, and it makes me, go, well, how's that working out for you? I sure hope you got enough lesbians on the force to make you happy, because that seemed to be what was important to you, And I hate to say shit like that, but I can't help it. Going, no, you were the one that said this was important to you. And so, Dan has talked a lot about how, hey, look, man, there's some female badass chicks out there, and they serve a very important role in the Secret Service. There are, when you're doing 24-hour detail for someone and you need to go into woman spaces, which is almost laughable these days. But when you need to go into there are female spaces, and you've got a Secret Service agent, you have a female with you. It makes sense that they're going into those bathroom spaces and those spaces that are where female protectees are having to go into, and they serve a very important role. It's not about like only men can do it and only this, no, there's plenty, but historically my whole life, it was like, no, their mission was clear. Their mission was crystal fucking clear. And it had nothing to do with like, oh, we got to make sure we hire enough Asians this time around. Like what? No, why would that matter? Oh, we got too many white guys. We got too many black guys this time around. It's like, okay, were all the black guys better than the white guys? Because then I want all black guys this time around.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit? It just seems simple. I don't know. We'll leave it there. I'm sure more will come out on that over time. Unfortunately, it gets political. I'm sorry that happens.
First off, don't apologize for your opinion, because it's what you think. And second of all,
it just sucks. It sucks that that's where we are, because I don't feel like it should be a political thing. It wasn't my whole life growing up. It was just kind of the way it was, like we all kind of agreed that like, strong border security. Like that was what Obama preached every month. So did fucking everyone on the left. Everyone here on the left preached the same thing about border security. Everyone build a wall, extreme, like we got to protect our borders. We're not a nation without borders. And now you're gaslit into thinking that's somehow racist. Like my whole life, all of these people agreed that just like the NFL, no, you don't have fucking hiring quotas in the NFL. That would be absurd. But the military is just as important to me. Like that's firemen. Yeah. Can you lift the 280-pound man out of a burning building? Go. The discussion ends there.
Right.
So anyway, I mentioned HOAs. I'm having a HOA issue here. I've never dealt with an HOA before, but reality of the situation, and you can check out Chris if you want. You look tired. But if you want to stick around for a quick email.
A quick email about a homeowner association? Homeowner association?
What are you saying?
Fuckface HOA fuckers.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Let me know if you
read it. Yeah.
Go ahead, just read it.
Yeah, it's kind of long, so you might.
Oh yeah, bye. Just let me know if you want me on tomorrow. Hit me up.
Okay,
later.
You got it, buddy. See you, dude.
See you guys.
Thanks, Chris. Good stuff.
Bye.
Hello, friends. I have 3 quick HOA stories I can pass along. Back in 2005, I dated a girl who lived in a newer condo complex off Gratiot and 24, Chesterfield area. During this time, I drove a 93 Sonoma pickup, and like most older vehicles, it developed a slow leak. The transmission seal between the drive shaft and tranny would allow an occasional drip when parked overnight. Well, I placed a sheet of cardboard under the truck to prevent any staining before I could complete the repair. Boy, I never would have thought of that. I'd have let that shit drip all over everything. No, he's proving better man than me. No sooner than the next afternoon, after I was gone, my girlfriend gets a letter taped to her front door. The letter informed her that upon the morning rounds of the HOA, they noticed the cardboard under my truck, and that if that truck so much as left a single drop of fluid on the driveway, a company would be hired to clean the spot, and she'd be responsible for the bill. I ended up breaking up with her shortly afterwards, so I have no idea if they came through with their threat. Same complex complained a second time to her because the wood chips out front had given birth to that odd-looking fungus called dog barf. It's that weird pink color. Have you seen that stuff, Garrett?
Yeah, I think I've seen that stuff. Let me look it up.
She was ordered to clean it up. The final HOA story I can share, an old coworker of mine parked his HVAC van in his driveway overnight. It was a normal-sized cargo van, too, not beat up either. No rust or cracked windshield or any of that other typical Facebook marketplace handyman bullshit piece of shit. It was nice looking. Apparently, he'd come across... He had crossed words with the head of the HOA one day, and she held an emergency meeting with the board, and suddenly tradesmen were no longer allowed to park service trucks in driveways. Dude had to rent a spot at an RV lot to park his truck overnight. Every workday, he had to swap vehicles. What a fucking cunt.
Yeah,
Frank Fox. Yeah, dude, I love hearing these stories of people getting just a modicum of power. Like, you see it everywhere.
It happens. My company, because all of our workers have their own van. We deal with this a lot with commercial vehicles in HOA areas. Commercial. Me and Marina had a whole fight about this last night. I'm not changing it. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's your thing, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have one of our guys actually walks like a whole block to get to his fucking van because it was the closest he could park to the house.
Really?
Yep.
Because of the same type of thing?
Yep, the HOA doesn't want commercial vehicles either on the side of the house or in the driveways.
Unbelievable. It's humans, man.
And the funniest part is the vehicles we use are just like Mercedes vans and like regular Chevy vans. Like, they're not like crazy industrial trucks.
I don't know anybody that's offended by that stuff. If you see something on your block that oh, cool, my neighbor's getting some work done. Like,
yeah, it's
okay.
Actually,
they have very strict hours. Like, you got to be gone by 6. You can't start before 9 or 8, whatever it is. Like, okay, how about you complain when they do something wrong?
In all honesty, I love seeing people's like companies' vehicles in my neighborhood because we have it all over my neighborhood. It's a very blue collar area. It's like I get to know who around me knows what skills and like, hey man, get you a 6-pack. You want to come help me fix my AC or something?
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a big difference between, looking like a fucking Sanford and Son lot in your driveway.
Yeah.
And clearly, like, we just moved in here. So there were movers there, my pod was out front for a week before we could unload everything.
Yeah.
Nobody's moved before. They don't understand how this goes. That, oh yeah, when you move in, you're likely going to be doing some work. You're going to need a plumber. You're going to need an electrician. You're going to need someone to look at your driveway and do some repairs. Like, that's just comes with the territory.
Exactly. It's one thing if they're like blocking off the road, but they never are. At most, you might get like a shoulder. You have to kind of swerve around a little bit. But
yeah,
I've parked in very many job sites and especially residential areas where there's actual like commerce and stuff going on around you, and you have to find a spot to park near a business that doesn't block people off. Most people who work for companies are very, very conscious about where they're parking. Yeah. They're trying to stay out of your way, and they want you away from their shit.
They get really anal too here. Like, they were bitching. They sent an email to the warden here. Apparently the guys in their work truck they were doing some electrical and something else, like right when we moved in. But the guys were at the end of the driveway on the street, and there's quite a bit of land between houses. It's not like you're back to back, people on top of each other. It's not one of those areas. It's in Arizona. There's a lot of desert around. And so it's like, really, there's just not that much problem. They sent an email like, one of the workers was standing outside his work vehicle having a cigarette. That is unacceptable. And
that's total bullshit.
Holy shit. Do you have any idea how many fucking blue collar workers smoke?
Oh, I know. I know very much so.
Holy shit. Like, And I sort of get it a little bit. You're in the summer in the desert, and you are one fucking cigarette butt from igniting an entire mountain. Like that. That's just the reality. So they're very worried about it. But I still think like, yeah, you just don't want those dirty fucking smoking people in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's how it comes off to me. That it's not really like you'd have to be a real asshole to be out here and just flick cigarettes into the desert. But whatever. All right, buddy, let's shut it down there. Tomorrow, I can't wait for tomorrow. I'm so excited. Football, tackle ball season starts.
Kid on Christmas. Already fucking talking about it.
Yeah, dude, it is my Christmas now. It's a good way to say.
You're gonna go
it.
sleep in all your tackle ball gear. You got your pads on and everything.
Face.
No,
I don't do that. But
you wake up in your Lions, half San Francisco, half Lions gear. Let's go.
Start the show with my helmet on.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to get it going. So
that's awesome.
Anyway, have a great rest of the day, Garrett. Thank you, buddy. And we'll do it again tomorrow.